Welcome back, Rack Pack. Rackmender here, and today I am bringing you another brand new YouTube video. Today I am kind of branching out a little bit from some of my usual content, and I wanted to take this opportunity to talk about the happenings of last week, namely E3. Something that I really enjoy is the discussion around games and the gaming industry in general, whether it be the actual design and balance of the games themselves or the behind the scenes stuff with the developers and all that stuff. I really enjoy discussing them and talking about them. And as I'm starting to further my career as a content creator, this is something that this is a video I really wanted to make and be able to create for you guys. So as we can see here, I do have the wiki for E3 2019 pulled up. This happened over last week, starting around the June 11th. And basically, what E3 is it stands for the Electronic Entertainment Expo. And, you know, E3, there's three E's there. Pretty self-explanatory. And essentially what it boils down to, for those who aren't aware, is during this big, huge event that is broadcasted throughout the world, publishers and companies and game developers from all around the world come together to show off their latest and greatest technologies and innovations. Normally, this manifests itself in the form of hot new games coming out, brand new titles, and those developers trying to really get you excited to play their new games. But sometimes they also show off other things, various softwares or technologies. So VR was something that a lot of companies started trying to, pass off during E3, and then other stuff like that. And then sometimes, they'll show off their new consoles during E3 as well. So, but basically, it's a big interactive media expo to show off things to their, to the fans and to people who are interested in that stuff. Lots of competition, lots of battling it out, trying to, best the other companies at the event in order to, get the most hype for their products. And it's just a lot of fun for both sides of the field. You have people that are, interested in that stuff, that are on the business side, and then you got us gamers who are just interested to see what new games will be coming out. E3 used to be a very exclusive event. It was journalists and press only. So basically, you needed to be part of a large, journalist company of the sort and have your own journalist pass in order to attend the event at all. Recently, though, I think within the past 3 to 4-ish years, I'm not exactly sure which year they opened it up to the public, but basically, E3 opened itself up to the public, where anybody could go online and buy tickets to the event, very similar to just a normal convention of like cosplay convention or just any other convention, and it changed how things worked, because now companies were now pressured to start appealing to not just the journalists there, but also just the general public. And it became a much larger event as a result, as now there was a lot more hype going into them, as more people could see, more people could experience the event for itself. And this year in particular, they also started reaching out to streamers and content creators of all sizes. One of my emails as a Twitch streamer was basically telling me to watch E3, restream E3 with my community. For those who don't know, restreaming is basically the act of watching another stream on your stream. So I would go in, click on Firefox, open up a new tab, twitch.tv/E3, and then instead of just watching it like you're normally supposed to, I would go to OBS, click record or click stream, and capture that particular window of Firefox, and that would be my content for that day. And normally this type of thing is incredibly looked down upon on the community. Restreaming is not usually something a lot of people are okay with, unless you're doing it for a very specific purpose. And normally that purpose is restreaming it in a different language, for example. So if someone wanted to restream E3 in French, that would have been okay. But now it was just open to everybody. Anybody, small or big, could restream E3. It opened up a lot of avenues for new streamers to really engage with their communities, and it was a lot of fun. I did it myself. Both of my reactions to the Nintendo Direct, or my reactions to the Nintendo Direct are up here on YouTube channel as well for those who wanted to see it. Feel free to go check it out. But I wanted to go ahead and give this like gaming wrap up, this kind of wrap up video in order to just talk about the whole convention for myself and give you guys my final thoughts. So let's go ahead and just get right into it. I don't want this video to be super long. Nintendo crushed it. Nintendo destroyed E3, and they, for the most part, won the entire event for me. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And there was some other noteworthy showcases, but for the most part, Nintendo brought their A game, and they came to fight. You know, they came in prepared. So let's go ahead. I'll kind of run through things. I'm going to only talk really about the stuff that I've seen. I'm not going to jump into a bunch of, games that I am not familiar with or haven't really seen myself. But just from what I've seen, just kind of, talk about them. So Microsoft, I did see most of it. I did see the big Keanu Reeves reveal for Cyberpunk. That was pretty funny and exciting. Basically, Keanu Reeves is going to be starring in the new Cyberpunk game, which is this just big open world game, massive game coming out. A lot of people are excited for it, and now more people are excited for it because now he's in the game. He's not just like voice acting. They did the whole facial reconstruction stuff in order to pretty much capture Keanu Reeves in Cyberpunk. It was a really cool thing to really witness and see. Just the advancing technologies that we do have nowadays, really cool. And Microsoft showed off a lot of stuff that was pretty good. Ori and the Will of the Wisps is the sequel to Ori and the Blind Forest. Heard a lot of great things about the first one. I do own it, haven't played it quite yet, so that could be pretty exciting. A new Battletoads game. Lots of cool things here. Psychonauts 2 was a big deal. Dragon Ball Z. I think this was an RPG, an action RPG they announced for Dragon Ball. And just a lot of really pretty interesting games. Phantasy Star Online 2, really big deal for those who played that game. And then Tales of Arise, Borderlands 3. These two are pretty good. This new game in the Tales of series. And Borderlands 3 obviously has been getting a lot of hype, especially with its recent announcements. It looks amazing. Borderlands 3 does look very good. And then just a bunch of other stuff. And for the most part, it wasn't really... This was one of the more exciting conferences. Lots of new titles coming out. Lots of new games to really sink our teeth into. And then additionally, they leaked Project Scarlet, which is going to be, I assume, their next console. They talked about some specs. And they also talked about Xbox Game Pass. One of the recent trends going around is gaming as a service. And basically, like, a lot of the MMOs are already doing this, where you don't really pay for the game and then you're done, and then you play it and then you're done. You pay for this extended service throughout the game. World of Warcraft was probably one of the the biggest ones back, especially back in the day. RuneScape, you would purchase, or you would pay this monthly subscription, this premium fee, to gain access to a lot of gameplay and services, and then they would continually update it and all that stuff, and just pretty much have an indefinite game on your hands that you would pay a service for. And it looks like they're extending this to kind of be even further, where now you would purchase these subscription services to basically play a ton of games. As opposed to just buying a specific game, you now have a library of games that you can choose from, and you just pay a single monthly payment to do so. Basically like the Netflix of gaming. I don't know, I'm a little bit indifferent on both ends of it. On one hand, I see why it's starting to progress towards this direction. On the other hand, I'm an old-fashioned person. I like to have my games, I like physical copies. I want them in my hand, right in my hand, and all that stuff. I want to own it. I want to own my game. However, it is really nice to start having some competition for services such as Steam. So we'll see how it plays out. I'm not a big Xbox guy anyway, so this probably won't be a huge deal for me. But they do have a version of their subscription thing coming to PC, so that could be very interesting. A PC version of it. Now you can start playing some of these games, I assume, on the PC. So I'm not quite sure how that plays out, but that's very interesting to see some, people or some companies starting to try to migrate some of their games to a PC service, as PC gaming is really, really big, and that will definitely benefit them in the long run to have their games available on the PC as long as you pay for their service. So that's definitely great there. Bethesda came in next. Not great. Not great. Most of their stuff was old news. Improvements to a lot of their ongoing games: Fallout 76, Elder Scrolls Blades, which I think is a mobile game, Elder Scrolls Online, their MMO, like a bunch of updates to these. Fallout 76 is getting some pretty new. Fallout 76 is getting some new content. They're finally getting NPCs, which is like, don't know why they didn't start that at the start of the game. They're getting NPCs, I guess quest lines as well, and then they're also getting their own battle royale mode. So I guess if you're a fan of Fallout and you're a fan of battle royale games, Fallout 76 might actually be worth looking into. And then probably the biggest new thing coming from Bethesda was Ghostwire Tokyo. And basically it's just this very weird, interesting game where it's very supernatural, and you're in Tokyo, and it looks like Thanos just basically snaps and people start disappearing. I'm not going to play the whole trailer. I don't want to get copyrighted too much. Just going to kind of give some thoughts. But as you can see, people are dying. People are, supposedly dying. We don't know what's going on. And then you have to kind of get to the bottom of what's going on, dealing with all the supernatural elements. I guess the lead designer is really cool person. She comes up on stage and really gives off this bubbly personality. Everybody fell in love with her immediately. So she seems very passionate about the project, and hopefully that leads to some pretty interesting stuff. And that kind of leads into the other major thing within the E3 is lack of gameplay. Like, most of the games that were revealed didn't give us any gameplay to like look at. It's like, dude, you're a video game, not a movie. Unless you're the way that I see it, if you're not an established franchise, you need to give us a little bit of gameplay to get excited for your game. It doesn't have to be final gameplay. I mean, obviously your game's going to change as you continue developing it, but like, just give us like an idea on how things are going to evolve. I can't really get excited for something if all I see is a trailer, unless it's an established franchise. So, Ghostwire Tokyo seems very interesting, but like, the gameplay could, just suck. Whereas, for example, Nintendo did a little spoiler for the Nintendo Direct. They revealed that Breath of the Wild 2 is in development with a cinematic trailer, but that's an established franchise with it's a sequel to a very well established franchise, and that doesn't need as much like gameplay to show off and get people excited, because we already know what the core fundamental game's going to be. It's a sequel. But for something that's brand new like Ghostwire Tokyo, Like you need to show off some, you know, additional stuff. And even Nintendo, when they first showed off Breath of the Wild 1, they gave us gameplay footage. They didn't just give us this huge cinematic thing. They gave us examples of gameplay, and then I believe that same year they even gave us the E3 or the Treehouse presentation of gameplay. So like that's how you get me excited. I see the gameplay, I want to play it then. And so I really, you know, Bethesda kind of a thing, or kind of a perpetrator of that. Ubisoft especially, they just gave us a ton of shooter cinematics, you know, a bunch of people shooting people in cinematics. It's like, I don't know what's going on. You're just giving me whatever. Wasn't really anything super big there. I didn't watch all of it. It was just shooter after shooter. I kind of got bored. And then finally we have Square Enix, pretty much the biggest competitor to Nintendo, because holy crap, they revealed the Final Fantasy VII remake. They gave us a release date, and they showed off gameplay. They actually showed us gameplay. So this looks really exciting. Looks like a fantastic game. Definitely a purchase for myself, and I haven't played the original, so that's going to be coming on stream before this for sure. So keep a lookout for that if you're interested in seeing me play that. But for now, like holy mother of like cinematics, man, this looks breathtaking. This looks like the graphics, the CGI just looks fantastic. It looks almost better than a pure CGI movie in some cases, and that is astounding. This game is going to be on 2 Blu-ray discs, so it is huge. And you can see they show off some gameplay. It's going to be action RPG mixed with some standard RPG. And as you attack, you build up this meter down here. You can't see it because of the face cam, but there's a little meter. Let's see if I can zoom it out a little bit. Oh man, my face cam's in the way. Wow. Let's deal with that, huh? So you see the little meter over here. Basically, as this fills up, you can start doing, you can stop time and make actions. And so they kind of show it off here. You're attacking, you're doing your own stuff. And once the meter gets filled up, you can enter this time stop mode, and they have this really flashy zoom in and zoom out. And now you can start picking your abilities, your spells, your really strong attacks, and using some items. So this looks really fascinating, really fun gameplay to kind of sink our teeth into and really just have a lot of fun doing, you know, just beating the crap out of people with Cloud. And they showed a lot of gameplay. They even went further. They showed off a ton of stuff. You can switch characters on the fly. You can, while in battle, which is really good stuff there. And like it just looks great. And there's this really like, it looks fun to play, and it looks fantastic. And I believe they showed the boss fight too. Yeah, they showed off the boss fight. This is the first boss in the game, and just look like, my god, like this looks like a ton of fun to play. I can't wait to get my hands on it. And so E3 or Square Enix came out swinging. Looked really hard to top this, but of course, Nintendo being Nintendo, they came out swinging just as much. So the Final Fantasy VII remake looks pretty decent. Definitely can't wait to sink my teeth into that one. Really going to be a fun experience. The only downside is I think they're still doing this weird episodic approach. So from what I've been hearing, this remake right now that's coming out in March, I think it's March 20th or March 2nd, I can't remember. It's March. It's coming in March 2020, and basically, I think we can probably just come over here. Did they show it off in the trailer? Nope, I guess not. I think that was another trailer. They showed off the release date. But anyway, they showed off the Final Fantasy VII remake. Wiki's probably got the release date. March 3rd, March 3rd, 2020. There we go. So yeah, they showed off the release date, which is great, but like I was saying, they seem to be doing this episodic approach, and so when we get this on March 3rd, I think that's going to be a very small portion of the overall story that we experienced in the original game. And from what I've been hearing, it's going to take place from the start of Midgar to when the whole party leaves Midgar, because there's a point in the game where you finally leave the main city of Midgar and start roaming the overworld. If that's the case, I'm a little bit hesitant to give it a ton of praise. I don't want to see Square Enix milk Final Fantasy VII for the next 10 years. It does look like they're putting a ton of effort into making it, so I don't want to be too harsh on them if they're going to give us a fantastic product. But like, honestly, that's just, to me, that starts hitting the realm of scummy business tactics. But if Final Fantasy VII Remake that hits March 3rd, that hits the store shelves March 3rd, turns out to be like a 50-60 hour great game with a decent kind of end to the episode to make it feel complete, then I won't be too upset. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Really kind of worried about that sort of decision making there. And then finally, let's finish off by gushing over Nintendo. So yeah, Square Enix came in. They also talked to, okay, let's rewind for like 2 seconds. Kingdom Hearts 3 is getting DLC. They announced some new stuff. Final Fantasy 14, the MMO, is getting some new content. And then I think probably Final Fantasy 8. Final Fantasy 8 is getting like a kind of, not a remake necessarily, but a reproduction and being re-released on various platforms. And then finally, the Avengers. This was kind of announced and revealed a little bit earlier this year, before E3, but essentially, Square Enix is teaming up with Marvel to create a cinematic story, like RPG Avengers experience. I'm not quite sure how that's going to play out. It looked Marvel, so not too bad. They kind of got all their discount. They kind of got a bunch of discount actors from the cinematic universe. They couldn't get, it's one of those things where they couldn't get Robert Downey Jr., so they got the next best thing, and it looks all right. Nothing really that stood out to me nothing that just really stood out to me, but it doesn't look too bad. So yeah, now we can jump into Nintendo. They started off strong. They announced DLC for Super Smash Bros. The hero from Dragon Quest is coming to Smash as the next DLC fighter in this summer, and that was great. It was a really cool cinematic with Link fighting some controlled Darkon controlled enemies in the form of Marth and Meta Knight. So it was really cool, really interesting. They showed off a lot of Luigi's Mansion 3. That game looks hella fun. And then they just kind of ran through a ton of really cool games. Three Houses, Fire Emblem, Link's Awakening remake, looks fantastic. No More Heroes 3 got announced. Like they just pumped out great title after great title after great title after great title. And then finally, after giving us that amazing trailer, they ended it with another DLC announcement, Banjo-Kazooie. So Banjo and Kazooie are now in Super Smash Bros. They're going to come out in fall, and looks fantastic. And just when we thought they had it all, they decided to end the direct by announcing the sequel to Breath of the Wild being in development. And like that just kind of came out of nowhere. And I was already convinced that Nintendo won previously. Nintendo has this basically down to a science. They know exactly how to get you excited for their games. They show off really cool trailers. Those trailers actually feature gameplay. Like most of the trailers in this showcase had some form of gameplay. And that's how you get people excited. You show them gameplay, make them excited to actually sit down with the controller and play your game. And And then the games that they didn't have gameplay for, namely the sequel to Breath of the Wild, they didn't need it because it was, it was starting to get development. So it's basically just a, hey guys, keep an eye out because we got something big on the way. And then when they eventually feel comfortable enough to, get a release date verified, they'll show us gameplay, similar to how they did with Breath of the Wild 1. So yeah, Nintendo came in swinging, bunch of really heavy-hitting punches. And then even after this brilliant direct, they had 3 days of Nintendo Treehouse footage where they got a lot of developers and a lot of stuff coming in, and it looked really good. They showed off a ton of gameplay of a lot of the new stuff. You can find Three Houses gameplay, you can find Luigi's Mansion gameplay, you can find a lot of fun games over there. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 gameplay, you can get all of that on the Treehouse stuff on the Nintendo channel. Definitely check it out if you're hesitant to buying some of these. I was a little hesitant for Three Houses, for example, but the gameplay definitely looked fun, so I might pick that one up and all that. So just, yeah, it was a pretty solid E3. By far carried by Square Enix and Nintendo. Xbox, or Microsoft I should say, had a decent showing, but the rest, they just kind of was like, well, there's really nothing here besides generic shooter after generic shooter. And it just didn't, none of them captured my attention. They didn't capture my excitement very much, and so a little disappointed on that end. There are a ton of really good indie games coming out, though. I have been kind of catching up over stuff on stuff over the weekend, so I definitely recommend looking up some of the indie games coming out very soon on the various platforms. Indie titles are really good right now, and this is a great time to be a fan of indie games. Other stuff, Google Stadia got some information, I suppose. And again, more streamer appeal, trying to appeal to the streamers. Ubisoft, Bethesda had their own like thing, or Ion Software, some a service to help speed so people can stream. Google Stadia is something people were really excited about as a streaming thing. So just a lot of different things kind of coming out, and but the big thing, the really big contenders were definitely Square Enix and Nintendo, and then all of the indie titles coming out. Definitely take a look at those. So yeah, that's going to wrap up this video. I really want to thank you guys for listening and giving me the opportunity to kind of share my thoughts and impressions on the E3. And I hope you guys are excited like I am for all of the great new titles to come, especially if you're a Nintendo fan, because they came out swinging. So yeah, anyway, that's going to be it for the rest of this video. Be sure to leave a comment. Tell me what you thought about the this year's E3. Tell me what games you're excited for in the comments below. And feel free to subscribe for more gaming content. Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links as well. And do hit the bell notification, as everybody's gonna tell you, because YouTube kind of sucks sometimes. So yeah, but yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. See you guys next time. Later.